Hello, 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 and welcome. This is Women in Power Academy. My name is Dakota Lima. I'm going to be your host for this video. And today we're going to talk about spiritual awakenings and the 6 stages, where you may find yourself today, tomorrow, or down the line. You can always come back and revisit this video, share it with a friend. If you like the information I'm sharing, please like and subscribe so that you can get more content from me. Also, there's links in the description box with links to my website, a free download for an ebook that I wrote, and registration for a masterclass that I have coming up. So all of that will be in the description below. Okay, enough about all that. So now let's get right to it. We're going to talk about the 6 stages of a spiritual awakening. Well, first, let's talk about what a spiritual awakening is. And when I think about a spiritual awakening, in the first steps especially, I think about, for me, like my first, I would have to say, step that I realized something had to change in my life, because in stage one, I like to call that waking up in the void or escaping ignorance, right? Because you're really seeing for the first time. I feel it's, like I said, you wake up in a void. You wake up, all of a sudden you're looking around and nothing is what it used to be. Your job isn't fulfilling, the activities you're doing, the lifestyle, your living situations. It could be a number of different things, but there's just this inner knowing that something is just not right. You're not satisfied. And, you can feel that there's just something missing. You're probably going to be at a stage in your life where you're seeking to do new things. You're seeking adventure, and you may never have been an adventurous person. You may just be, you've been so stuck in your routine and in the rut of everyday life that one day you just kind of wake up and you're just like, is this my life? Something has to change. And you may be very successful. You may have a lot of stuff going for you. You may have the picture perfect life, So when people go through this, it doesn't always have to be where you're in a dire situation and you're at rock bottom and your life is horrible. It happens to people at all different stages of life and in different times. And when it happens, there's there's no going back really, because ultimately, if you don't, like I like to say, answer the call, if you don't, if you try to ignore the signs that you're waking up, it's really hard to, like, you're really not going to be able to. But the universe, God, angels, whatever you would like to call, whatever you follow, will just continue to bring that feeling up in you. So it's going to get so loud to the point where you can't deny it. So once you start to identify things need to change, that's pretty much stage one. You may even start to feel some slight depression and like lack of motivation, because you're so kind of like stagnant, because you're so in like a rut. And that kind of brings you right into stage two, which is the ego death and dark night of the soul. I'm sure if you are listening to this channel, or if you are in the stages of looking into a spiritual awakening, excuse me, then you've heard the term dark night of the soul or ego death. And it's not as self-explanatory as it sounds. Ego death, what do you mean ego death? It's, the ego's whole purpose is to protect our human psyche. And so when you think of what does that entail, really, that's like, the things that it's going to repel, rejection and embarrassment, anything that's going to make you feel like failure, so it's going to come up. It wants to prevent all of those things from happening. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to make you feel comfortable. And so it is what caused us to get into that stagnant state that we woke up in stage one. It's our comfort zones, and it's our habits. It's our survival. And so this stage, though, can be the lowest stage in the spiritual awakening. And a lot of times, what prevent people from venturing down that path, because they want to stay comfortable. They want to be in that comfort zone. And so, every time they start to venture into the unknown, it's scary, it's fearful. You have to have courage. You have to want to change. And so during this stage, you're going to feel isolated. You may actually isolate yourself. And what happens is you start to realize that the person that you have become is not true to who you feel you should be or who you really are. And so that becomes so confusing, because then when you think, what does that mean? Like who I really am? It's like you feel called to seek more information about yourself. And then it's like, how do I learn about myself? So when you start to realize that you're kind of like playing a character. Oh, who was it? Jim Carrey had a statement that he talked about. Oh my God, it just like it flashed in my head and then left real quick. About depression. It says something about our avatars. Like, depression is when you realize your avatar is playing a character or something along those lines. But it's pretty much like, you don't recognize yourself because you've been playing a character your whole life. You've been doing everything that's been expected of you, or what you've been taught, what you've been conditioned to do, what society has told you to do, or your parents, or, all of those things. And, we all heard of all this. But so in this stage of the dark night of the soul, you're starting to beginning to seek information. You realize you need to seek information, I should say, because you are it gets you to that point. Like if you wake up in the void and you don't start to realize things need to change, you get to that point of the universe is like, no, like bringing it to your face. Like all of these things are happening to get you to move, you know what I mean? So that you start to seek and explore. And that's going to bring us into the third stage, which is explore and seek. that's what I call it, explore and seek. Because in this stage, we're seeking answers. We're trying to discover why we feel the way we feel. We start to understand the traumas of our past, the things that happened when we grew up, why these ideals that we have, why they are why we think the way we think, why we act the way we act, what we do, the things that we do. And slowly but surely, you're starting to find ways to fill in that void, because you're starting to discover who you are through different types of healing. And of course, we're talking about spiritual awakening. So you're going to seek different types of spiritual practices. And that can be a number of different things, from meditation to working with crystals, to Reiki work, energy work, different type of divination practices. There's so many. There's an array of different things and areas that you can study to figure out and to dive deep into, like, who we are. And so that's going to bring us to stage 4, which I feel is kind of the longest stage. I call it lessons of our souls. This is where we seek to understand, we seek to know. And this can take a long time. This is where you're developing new habits. You're, creating rituals. You've dived deep into different types of practices, and you may have sought out teachers or coaches. You may have moved to a different country. If traveling was something that has been in your soul, maybe you started doing traveling vlogs. Like, this is the stage that you take on developing your new identity, because ultimately we get to choose who we want to be, and we have the power, to change the perception of ourselves. And so during this stage, we're starting to understand and get a glimpse of our true self and who we really are inside. So as you start to develop your new habits and the rituals and spiritual growth, and find communities and other people who've been through these things that can help you, we come around to the 5th stage. And this stage is one of the hardest, at least for me, I found, because I felt like at this point I've been going through all of these things. I've been doing the work. I've been, the 5th stage is called surrender and allow. Surrender, fun, right? But like I said, we've been going through the work, right? The art of letting go is no joke, because, I just pulled my earring out. See, no joke. Pulling out earrings over here. The art of surrender is, it's hard, because part of your ego is still holding on, a little part. You've been doing work. You've probably tapped into trauma, failure, shame, disappointment. These are all things, guilt, regret, our shadow work, inner child. These are all things that you have to go through during your spiritual awakening. And so as you've been going through stages 1, 2, 3, and 4 of, identifying all of these different things, you start to feel like, I got a hang of this, like I got this under control. Like, I've already developed these new habits and life is going good, and you're starting to be happy, and you've met new people, and like, things are working in your favor. But then all of a sudden it seems like the rug gets, like, thrown from under you, because you come to a point of surrender again, just like in the beginning, when it was like, hey, something's off, you need to do this, but the difference is now we're more aware. So because you become more aware of yourself, the decisions you have to make, but then they become even scarier. I don't know why it seems like they're scarier, because you're like, if I just do this, then this will happen, right? So then you think it's going to be that simple to just do that. But what happens is that the one thing that you just need to do is going to be that one thing that you're terrified of. And the reason why that's the one thing you need to do is because you need to be courageous and push through that fear, right? Because that's when we're going to grow. And so it's like, I got to the point where I felt like I was battling with myself, and I knew what I needed to do. And then I kept getting to the point of, for me, it was posting on social media. I know that sounds crazy, but posting on social media was a big fear for me. And it took me forever to record a video and to start putting it out there and create the channel and start actually posting videos. And I mean, I think I recorded and did a million videos before I actually just said, you know what, just put it out there. Because it, what happens is you say, okay, I've done all these things, and now I'm in my point of spiritual awakening where I've passed through, I've gotten through stage 6, which is, awareness and service, where I'm so aware and I'm ready to share the information that I've learned so I can help other people, right? But what's holding you back? What's holding you back? Well, it's that little part of the ego that we thought we healed, or we thought we learned a lesson from, and somehow there's still a little piece that we just have to push through and like allow and trust. It gets to the point where you have to get to the point of actual trust. And I like to think of it as not proof of God's blessings, but it's almost like they make it so they brought in the blessing. It didn't come from you, because you had to get to the point of being so faithful and trustful that it's going to work out, because everything else is saying it's not. Everyone around you is telling you no. Everyone's telling you you're crazy, don't do these things. But something inside of you, an inner knowing, an inner truth, is telling you to keep pushing through and just trust yourself. And so once you get to that final stage of awareness, then you're ready, like you've accomplished your spiritual awakening. And so like I said, this is going to be something that is years. It's not just I wake up tomorrow and I realize things need to change and okay, boom, I had a spiritual awakening. It doesn't work like that. It's a process. It's a journey. And you don't have to do it alone. So, like I said, check out the links below and join the community. And if you have questions, leave a comment. Put any questions you have about the different stages, and whatever you may find you need help with. Like I said, check out the website, check out the different classes, and I'll see you on the other side. Love and light.